Okay. Some of you guys in class, as you're getting ready to work on your homework for this weekend, the stuff from the computer, um, you asked about your question number 7, which talked about this. I guess I've got my version posted, the one that, like when I take the quiz, shows up for me. Your numbers are going to be different, but other than that, you've got the same problem. So all I'm going to do is kind of show you. This is number 7. But you'll know which one it is if for some reason yours are in a different order. You'll know as you get to it that this is that problem, and so I'll at least help you set it up, and then hopefully you can figure out the rest on your own. So I'll just give you some helpful tips. All right. So my problem says on a drive from your home to town, you wish to average 33.6 miles per hour. Okay. So this is, I guess, I'm going to start to record some information that they're telling me. So for the total trip or the total drive, I want my average velocity to be 33.6 miles per hour. And I guess I'm not going to write it mph, I'll write it miles per hour to remind myself that it's a rate, it's a speed, it's so many miles for so many hours. And remember that the little bar over the V like that means average. I think we all know this, but just in case. Okay, the distance from your home to town is 94 miles. So the total distance, the total delta x on my trip, total displacement is going to be 94 miles. All right. However, at 47 miles, so halfway, you find you have averaged only 25.2 miles per hour. Okay, well, so now they just gave me 2 more pieces of information. On the first half of my trip, they told me that my average velocity, so I guess we'll say V1 for V average for the first half, is only 25.2 miles per hour. And delta x for that part, since it's halfway, that came out funny. The delta x for that part is 47 miles. Okay. All right. They want to know what your average speed must be, what average speed must you maintain in the remaining distance in order to have an overall average speed of 33.6 miles per hour. So they're asking for details about this second half. Okay. Particularly, what does my V average have to be in that second half? I know how far it is in that second half. It's got to be another 47 miles. But what's my average speed got to be? All right, well, we've got 2 variables in here. We've got velocity, which is some distance per time. We've got distances, which are just so many miles. What we don't have is the missing piece in this. Well, I've got miles per hour. I probably need a third variable, which is time. Okay, so t with a subscript t, that's my total time. I don't know what that is, but I could probably find it out if I needed to. The time it takes to travel the first half of the trip, t1. I don't know what that is, but I probably have enough information to figure it out. And I bet if I know the total time, and I know how much time this is, I could probably figure that time out. Okay, so time is one of the connecting pieces that we're going to need with this. The thought would be, step 1, figure out this total time, because that's going to, and figure out this time. A big idea with this is that, like one of our gang of 5s that we've used before is final position equals original position plus average velocity times time. Well, I can rearrange that. If I subtract original position from both sides, I get final position minus original position equals average velocity times time. Final position minus original position, that is my change in position. That seems to relate to 3 variables I've got: change in position, average velocity, time. So this is probably going to be useful in doing some stuff with those times. Okay. So the thought would be, and here's the other piece with this. Some of you guys that I spoke to said, well, I just tried V average equals V original plus V final divided by 2. Okay. There are certain conditions under which we can use some of these gang of 5s. This one only applies when acceleration is constant. And if your acceleration is constant, if I'm looking at a velocity versus time graph, that means I spend equal amounts of time at each one of these different speeds. Like so, I spend a little bit of time at this speed and a little bit of time at this speed and this speed. I spend equal times at each speed. Right now, this problem, you can't use this formula because I'm not doing that. I'm spending a certain amount of time at one speed and then I'm going to change and spend a certain amount of time at another speed. But those two amounts of time are not necessarily going to be the same. And in fact, they can't be the same because it takes a lot longer to go 47 miles at this speed than it does to go 47 miles at this speed. So I can't use that formula. Instead, I have to come back to the idea that's expressed here. Total distance traveled is average velocity per time, or average velocity is the total distance divided by the total time. So I've got enough information to use those three things in this equation here. I've got enough information there to use these three. I bet you I can use the information I get from here to get time, and then I bet you I can use this idea again someplace to get the average. I don't want to tell you more than that because honestly I've probably told you maybe too much, but I don't want to give away or take away all the fun in solving this, but I hope that at least showing you how to organize the information is enough to help you figure this out. Okay, so give it a try. Hopefully you get it right. Good luck on that one and the rest of your homework problems.